Thank you everybody for coming. Happy Saturday. I'm Jesse. Just as a reminder, those of you I haven't met, I work with Maya here at the Food Hub to help put on programs such as this. Very excited about today's workshop. We have two amazing guest educators with us, who many of you may have read about. But we have Ben from Mālama Mushrooms. Many of you are probably familiar with his products. We do carry those on our online market. But Ben's going to talk to us about the brand that he has built based down in Kona over the last, 10 years now. And then Kailin is our local hometown hero here right in Kohala. We also carry all of their products, Ho'ola Honey. She has some on display, and she is going to be selling some of her products that she has with her today after the workshop if you're interested. Right, you do have a little, okay, she's got her little POS with her. And then you can also find a bunch of their products as well on the marketplace. So we're going to run today a little bit different than we've done the last couple workshops. We're going to do a quick intro from both of these guys. They're going to give us a little 15-minute origin story background on how they started their brand and built their business. And then we'll jump into kind of a Q&A panel discussion. So I'm sure many of you will have questions that pop up or may already have questions today. We'll try to save those towards the end, and we'll reserve 15, 20 minutes or so for that. So maybe write something down, but many of those questions might get answered in the panel throughout the workshop as well. Our next workshop, just as a kind of reminder, will be the 5th workshop in our series, and that's on February 21st. It'll be another Saturday, again here in person only at Kohala Food Hub. That should be also a really valuable, exciting workshop. It's going to be focused on culinary operations, catering, and private chefing. We will have a professional private chef up from Kona as well, Chef Dre Wilson. And then I believe Shannon from Island Style Grinds, which is a really long-standing food truck and catering company on the island, will also be presenting, and we'll probably do a similar panel style like this. And with that, before we kick off to Ben and Kailin, I thought it would be nice to just go around real quick. We can start up front here. Just tell us your first name real quick, and then we'd love to hear, I think it would really help these guys kind of gear the presentation to you today. Either if you're a farmer or a gardener, what you're growing and what you're interested in turning into a product, or just what brings you here today. What are your interests and what are you hoping to get out of the workshop?
Okay.
Yes, we'll start with you, please. Thank you.
I'm Wendy. I have 5 acres in South Kona, and we're just growing a lot of things, focusing on tropical fruit trees, and growing food for ourselves and community. So,
Thank you.
I'm Sandra Tran, Kapanaya Farms up in Kapa'au. We sell a lot of dragon fruit. It's our main crop. But then in between, we're gearing up to offer some lilikoi. And I do, in between, I do candy and, baked goods or whatever off season. Always looking to learn something new.
Okay. Aloha. Is this actually a real mic? Yes. Can you hear it? Oh,
it's just
okay.
for the recording, so you won't hear yourself.
Well, aloha. We are Mikania at Ground Truth Growers located in Kapanaya and Kapa'au. Today we are here to learn. We are focusing more on vegetable market garden vegetables, and we want to tap in more into making seasonings with our vegetables that may not have sold or anything. And yeah, anything else? Okay, mahalo.
I'll introduce myself. I'm Malik. I stay with Nia, and I also work at a farm down south, and we mostly do lettuce there. And then, like what Nia said, at the garden in Kapanaya, we do like market garden stuff. And yeah, I'm here just to learn and to see what's going on over here. I'm gonna move up here eventually, and so just kind of getting a feel of the community up here. And so I'm grateful to be here and see face with everybody.
Hi, I'm Phoenix. I have about 3.5 acres, and I I have lots of old growth trees like kukui nut, mac nut, and I have some soursop. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with it. I don't want it to just remain on the ground. So that's where I'm starting from.
Hi, I'm Farah. I'm a farmer. I had Sage Farms for 20 years, and I started another project. I'm growing, basil and fruit, and I have products that I already sell, and I worked on recipes for over 25 years. So just looking for ideas about marketing, really. I talked about launching it forever, and I just do it kind of as a hobby right now. So I'm just here to see if I got another one in me, so I don't have to work so hard.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am a flower farmer. I own Inspired by the Sun florals. So I do edible flowers and cut flowers up here in Hāwī. I also have a lot of gardening clients that have a lot of extra fruit laying around. So just trying to learn, maybe come up with some ideas of what they can do with that.
I'm Todd. I grow a little bit of everything, but nothing like at the moment commercially or for money. I've got a lot of ideas after being here for a few years on things involving food. So here I am.
Hello, my name is Daniela, and I'm a chef, personal chef, vegan chef, but I'm Italian. Means my passion is to make pasta. And this year I'm going to start cooking class using local product, means to make all the community understand how to merge my knowledge, my culture, and the Hawaiian culture.
Hi, I'm Dory Centeo. My company's Kamuela Gourmet, and I make gourmet granola, and I kind of try to take people on an adventure with flavors from Hawaii and other globally inspired flavors, like salted miso caramel or, black sesame kuramitsu. So I am here just to kind of learn to see how you are growing your businesses and how that might help. Thank you.
My name's Serena. I'm very fresh here. I just started working at a farm, hip agriculture, like Starseed Ranch. And yeah, I'm really interested in fermentation and just seeing what's going on with the community, especially with value-added products, and just trying to continue to be inspired and connect with others. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Zipporah, and I had a small chocolate company that I started in Bali, Indonesia. And now that I'm here, I would like to do something similar. However, the sourcing is a little different here, and so I'm also looking at how to possibly make a value-added product with a lot of the fruit trees that are on my mom's 9-acre farm. She has a lot of a variety of mature fruit trees that produce a lot each year. So I'm curious to see from you both what inspired you, and just your personal stories to see what resonates, and thank you for sharing with us today.
My name is Antonin. I am from the mainland and just visiting. I'm a retired farmer and a personal chef, and I do a lot of foraging and fermenting. And I'm here helping Chris put on some workshops. And a lot of the things that I use when I'm feeding people are things that could transition into potential value-added products if I decide to stay here longer. We do a lot with koji, lacto fermentation, using honeys and sugars and things, making different jams and things. It's really fun to play with different flavors here, and I'm grateful for the Food Hub for hosting this.
Hi, my name's Butter. I don't have a farm, but I have a snack shop in Kona, and I'm always looking for locally made products. I'm also a baker. I'm known for my banana bread and our cookies, and I make 97 different kinds of banana bread. And I would really like to, I try to get as many locally produced ingredients as I can to use. So I have a lot of friends that are farmers and stuff like that, but I like to use some unusual things too. So I'm interested in talking to all of you. But I'm also interested in learning about the marketing and the branding, because we also make other things of our own at our shop that I need to concentrate on focusing on that as well. So.
What's the name of your shop?
It's Snack Attack Hawai'i.
Snack Attack.
It's at Lily Gardens Marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tiare. I'm Butter's daughter. What I primarily wanted to learn about today, networking with everybody here would be important to us, but also the marketing, promotion, and sales side of the value-added products. I'm more of the back-of-house person that does like website and social media and stuff as the millennial, so that's more my my area.
Thank you all for sharing too. We appreciate that. Super helpful. And with that, we'll
Okay.
kick it off to Kailin.
Okay. Jump right in.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Aloha, my name is Kailin Kim. My ohana and I live in Kapa'au, up Kinnersley. We used to live right up the road over here when we started. We have 3 keiki.
Just a little blonde.
And we are ho'ola. I just wanted to say thank you all for being here, because I think the real value in this value-added workshop is just right here with all of you. I already can see the abundance of soursop going to our chefs, who's going to turn it into this amazing product to our shop, and it'll be marketed out to the world. So I just thank you for being here, and just want this to be more of a conversation and learning from all of you as well. So yeah, thank you for having me today. We started in 2015 because my other half and I, he was actually a carpenter for many years, my other half Kai Hudgens, and we had our first keiki, and we just weren't seeing the fulfillment of like the work that we were doing. He was doing construction, I was substitute teaching, and we just really didn't have a passion for the work that we were doing and raising our keiki. We knew that we wanted to, raise them alongside of us in whatever we do, and we really pride ourselves on moving together as a ohana. So through all our work, you'll usually, today is a rare occasion, you don't find a little one attached to us somewhere. But this is our 11th year in business this year, and what started Ho'ola is really we found this great need in our community. Well, it started because we wanted to raise our keiki alongside of us at home, but we really found this need in our community for live bee relocation services. So originally we got into bees because my father-in-law's farm was just not getting any fruit on his trees, and he had no pollinators, no pollination. And so I was like, well, I took a beekeeping class back in college. I got this. So we got a couple hives, and it ended up being just a total failure, disaster. Beekeeping is really tricky, as with farming, as you all know, I'm sure, as with anything. There's so many factors and natural elements and things out of our control that you can't manage all the time, and there's such a learning curve that you really just got to jump in and learn from experience and keep an open mind. So we totally lost our first 2 hives on the farm. There was a effect of poison from neighboring places, and just a lot that we didn't know yet. And so we kind of were like, oh, what are we gonna do? Like, you know, starting to feel a little discouraged. And we ended up finding a hive in a water meter box right up the road here, actually, on Alalai, on Hāwī Road. Like 2 houses above our house, it was an abandoned house, and they were living in a hive was living in the water meter box. And if you ever have tried to follow bees and, you know, see where they're traveling to, it's really difficult to follow them back to their hive. So it's not something that you can just like, hey, there's bees in my yard, I'm gonna follow them. And somehow my other half magically followed these bees and up the road and found the box that they were living in. So we didn't know anything about relocating bees or removing them safely, but we did as much research as we could. We reached out to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, had an apiary program at the time, and figured out how to save this hive in the water meter box so they wouldn't get sprayed. And so I think that was just a great start for us of starting we pretty much jumped headfirst into that. Our second or our third removal we ever did after that one was the St. Augustine Church. If you guys remember, maybe 10 years ago, there was like a 30-foot scaffolding, and we ripped open the entire soffit right below the bell tower, and there was like a 100-year-old hive in there that was 15 feet long on either end, and we were 30 feet up in the air, and we really jumped in, feet first or head first or whatever the saying is. But to this day, we have rescued over 200 colonies, or 300, sorry, and that is kind of one of our biggest moments of something we're really proud of, because we get to bring all those bees back home here to Kohala and help farmers and backyard gardeners, and really our passion is to just help people be able to grow their own food. Yes, that is our start. From there, we ended up just, you know, with all this bee rescue work, we ended up having so much honey flowing through in abundance. It was never our purpose or our start, but we got to a point in our little house on Alalai where we had buckets of honey lining behind our couch. We had a little extra room that was full of 5-gallon buckets, and we were like, okay, we got to do something with this, because we got to do something. So we started at a farmer's market, and I'll kind of get into that a little more, but that's kind of how we ended up with this honey business now, is just because of the need that we found in our community that grew into this business, and then realizing how much of an amazing medicine honey can be. And from there, we've just grown. So this was just a few of our accomplishments, I guess, or features in the last few years. 11 years. We got to be featured in the Hanaho magazine in Hawaiian Airlines. We did a collaboration with Toyota in their Holo Holo series. We worked with Olukai, and then this last year, 2025, we won first place for Best Locally Made Product. Thank you, thank you. But with all of that, the point of that slide was actually that the question came to mind is what do we value, and what do you value, and how do you provide value for your community? So even with all those great accomplishments, we're really proud of that. That's really not the value that we see for ourselves. It's not our top accomplishment, and I'm going to share our top accomplishments with you all, but what we view as our value is more a 4-part with our bees, of course, our pollinators, and focusing our efforts to rescue and save them, and to educate people on why they're so important. And then, like I mentioned, our medicine, our honey is really not just a business to sell lots of honey and make lots of money. We really want to provide this la'au, or this medicine, and this nourishing foods for our lahui, or for our community, for our local people. And so that was a big shift for our mindset in the markets when we started. We started at the Wednesday Pukalani midweek market, and when COVID happened, I had a 3-month-old, and when COVID happened, we kind of were thinking, oh, all our honey is going out to these local families. We're at the farmers market in Waimea, you know, like we're getting our products in the hands and the homes of the people that really are important to us. And when COVID happened, we went back to the market one of the Wednesdays, and we realized just that maybe 80%, if not more, of our products were going to the tourists, or we lost that market at the local farmers market in Waimea, where we thought, we're getting it to the local people. So that was a huge eye-opener for us, because we thought that's where our products were going, and it was just a big shift in our mindset of realizing how intentional you need to be of where you spend your money, where you want your products to go, and just who you want to benefit, who you want to help. And then our other two values is just our pollinators and ensuring food security here for home, so that you all can grow food. You don't have to have bees on your farm, but you know that there's a healthy environment, because we're all knowledgeable or learned or aware of the issues that our pollinators face, because these are the same issues that we face as people as well. Like I mentioned, the poison earlier of losing our hives, the bees are a really great way to visually see what's happening in our environment. And so you can see a big pile of dead poison bees in front of a hive that has collapsed, but we really can't see that effects on our body in the same drastic manner. And so I think visually to see that helps us to just be more aware as people of this is happening in our environment. As healthy as I try to be, or as healthy as I want our land and our water to be for my keiki, it's still a reality of farming and agriculture and just living in general in Hawaii. So, and then our third thing that we really value is just fostering the next generation. Like I said, our kids are the most important thing to us, and kind of the reason we started all of this. So we really value stewarding and fostering and inspiring the next generation to get involved. And so some community partners, like I said, the nice features and all the things are great, but this slide here is really where our heart lies, here at home in Kohala. And we always try to, Kohala is home, and that's the heart of everything that we do. So we're really proud to have partnered with Kohala High School Na'auiwi Alternative Learning Program the last few years, and with HILT, the Hawai'i Island Land Trust at Mahukona, who has stewarded, I forget how many acres in Mahukona. But this is us with their program. They created a product with kalo, and I know they partner with a lot of other organizations in Kohala, but they created a kalo granola last year with kalo that they raised, and then we taught them how to care for the bees, and that's been really rewarding and fulfilling, and also helped us to find interested students who have grown or can grow to become interns or potential employees with us. And these are just some other, the North Kohala Community Resource Center was really key to us at the very beginning before we launched our honey product line, with getting grant funding and helping us to fund our startup costs, where we needed our bee boxes and equipment and supplies. So I think always searching for grant funding or any type of funding, or even just support and people who can point you in the right direction, was really key for us. And then we also work with Ho'akea is a DOE program where we travel into classrooms, and we have an educational box there if you guys want to check it out later. But we really just try to teach. We started off trying to teach the adults when we started with bees, and we really wanted to connect with other beekeepers. So our very first event in Kohala, we did a community beekeeping class with the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and adults are really hard to teach, just to be honest. Everybody knows everything, and everybody has their ways, and it's really hard to have an open mind. So I appreciate that you all were here saying, I just want to learn, and I love seeing that, because that's what we see in our youth, and we love to work with them because they they see things that maybe their parents can't see. We have little kids we've worked with, and we do no spray sign paintings, and they go home and tell their dad, why are you spraying poison around our orange tree? And then the parents kind of got to think about it. But you try to go tell, you know, the generational farmers, you cannot spray poison, and you're just going to get into an argument or, you know. So we go for the youth, and then they take it home, and then we spread to the community. Another important thing I think that helped our business to grow is we do a lot of collaborations, and we're also like I said, we're kind of very intentional and mindful of who we work with. So we pick businesses that are usually friends that we know, or we find businesses that align with our values. And so these are just a few examples. We did you wouldn't think Honey and this fashion company, but we did a collaboration because with this company called K & Cole, and she just loved our mission. And so like a proceed of her honeycomb bag here went to support our bee rescue project. So we work with a ceramic studio from Makapala, sunscreen, lip balms, soaps, teas. There's always potentials for collaborations. And then like I mentioned, we like to do a lot of educational stuff. So I have a degree actually in Olelo, Hawaii and Hawaiian Studies from UH Hilo. So I always try to incorporate that perspective and language into everything we do. So we did a big Mahina Olelo Hawaii. February is Hawaiian Language Month. So we've done campaigns before, I guess you would call it, that we highlighted all different words that relate to bees. And we have this on our website available for teachers in Hawaiian and English. And if you're interested in any of that, I'm happy to share. We have downloadable crosswords and all kinds of things. So that's really important to us. And from there, our products were born. We've gone through an evolution, but I just wanted to, I guess my point of today when I was thinking about this is the value-added product is not just, the value doesn't come just from the ingredients that you're adding to your product. I think the value really comes from the values that you conduct your business by, the values that you live and teach your keiki, how you function as a ohana, what you provide to your community, just the mindset that you come with, I think is what gives your product and your business value. And that's really what has helped our business to grow, is just building the relationships and putting the effort and the time first into making sure we have a strong community. We can not just succeed ourselves or not just try to go make a lot of money and we're gonna go and do our own thing. It's about like, who can we bring along on this journey with us as we move forward, as we grow? Who else from home or who else is important to us that we can bring along with us? And that's how the collaborations have been formed with us. That's how all the features were organically came by. We didn't reach out to these companies, but we have gotten to know so many people from markets, coming to events like this and just talking story with people and just giving generously was my note. Is don't forget to share. Like when you're starting, if you focus so much on the business side of things, you kind of forget to, sometimes, not you, sometimes people forget to be a little selfless. Like, take your products and you don't have to think, I'm gonna give this honey to this person because they're a chef and I'm sure that I'm gonna get somewhere because of it. You're just like, you know, I made this product for my family. Our Olena honey is one of our most popular, and we actually made it because my other half had a bad back injury. And so we've created this because it's what works for our family. It's not something we made because we were like, I know what's gonna sell and we're gonna make tons of money off this product. We have something that works for us and we wanna share it, and we wanna have such an abundance of it that we can give it away to the auntie that needs it. And we can give the kupuna who, you know, really should be taking it every day. It's okay to give it to them and let them try, and that is gonna just come back tenfold, you know, when it's meant to be. They're gonna tell their friend, and then her daughter's sick and her baby needs something, and they say, oh, you know what worked really good when we had a cough, and then there's their honey and they know where to find you. So just don't be afraid to, don't forget to be generous, and just think of the bigger picture. Don't get too set on this is my cost, this is how much I need to make, you know, like just remember to keep your heart and your passion in all that you do. So we're Va'a people. Me and my other half met sailing on Hokulea. So we're canoe people. So this saying has always been, you know, really important to us. It's about the journey and not the destination. When you're on a voyage on a canoe, you're really not just trying to get there. You got to enjoy all the small moments, all the beautiful things that happen along the way. And that's really the foundation of our family and our business. And so this is just a look back. Like this was our first labels that we did. I printed it at home on brown paper labels. And our first market, one of our first markets when I had my second son was 3 months old, and we kind of just jumped in there. This first hive was, we had a goal of rescuing 30 hives. So this, after we lost all the ones on the farm and we found the first, I think this was the first one in the water meter box. This was our, I'm sorry, you can't see anything, but this was our first hive that we rescued. And from that, in that year alone, I think we grew our apiary to 60 hives. So you gotta start, just start somewhere. And then this is the beautiful success story for me, is that we really do get to raise my son. This is a huge swarm next to him. It's hard to see in the picture, but it's taller than him. And he's been coming pretty much on every swarm catch and bee rescue since he was like 2 years old. And he pretty much can do them himself now for the easy swarm rescues. But he loves coming, and that's the point of why we started. We're the crazy people who show up to your house to assess the hive, and we have the 10-year-old doing it now. He's 10 now, so. So my auntie, I don't know if any of you remember or know Auntie Patty Ann Solomon, but she was a very loved kupuna of Kohala and on Makali and from the canoe, and she always said, know your place. And so I think about that a lot, where you can bring your perspective to anything. Like bees is not a Hawaiian thing, and we always relate them back to voyaging. So the way that the bees navigate with the sun is how we navigate on the canoe. And we try to bring our perspective, so like when we're teaching the Kohala high school students, they're not like, oh, this is a foreign thing that people don't do here. They're like, oh, I learned about that on the canoe, and this is the same with the bees. That's pretty cool. Like we have to all work together or we can't survive. And there's so many lessons that we can learn from the bees. But I think from the marketing and the business side, if you know your place, you're not gonna try to compete with what's already out there. You're not gonna go and be like, we already have a pineapple farmer here, so I'm gonna grow more pineapples on my property and I'm gonna make a pineapple stand because I want to. You're gonna be like, well, we have a pineapple farmer in Kohala. This seems like we really can never find this product, or maybe I should grow something else that's hard to find. Or maybe the chefs are telling me like, we love to make this food, but we can never get this ingredient in stock. So I think just kind of knowing, you're not trying to go step on toes. There's lots of beekeepers, and I've been very mindful. Like we've done a few Kohala markets, but we have beekeepers that sell at the market. And so I'm not trying to take business away from anybody. I think, like I said, we can all find our own, is it niche or niche? Yes, I always pronounce it wrong. You always can, and you can have the same product, but you can make it different. And you just know your place. You don't need to go somewhere and, like, there's 2 ice cream shops in Kohala, and when the other one, I don't know the backstory, but I always think when I drive through, like, man, you could have turned this into anything and been a thriving, booming business and not had to have the competition across the street. Or like, you know, when there's 2 gas stations next to each other or whatever it is, like, just knowing your place of how can I help my community instead of compete or compare. Like even just compare. It's hard to not compare in these social media world today and what everybody else is doing, and just kind of being genuine and coming up with your own way and bringing yourself into what you're doing. So this is just what I kind of mentioned. The things that have driven our business is the organic and meaningful partnerships. We're very lucky that we have very, very loyal customers, and I believe that's because of how we conduct our business, where majority of our sales is from repeat customers and word of mouth and people that they know. And just steady growth, just always moving forward. It doesn't have to be a race to grow your business to this point so quickly, but just continue to move forward and always being intentional with your decisions and where you're spending your money, where you're sourcing your ingredients or your products from, and if those places align with your values. And my final lesson is just there's always more to learn. If you keep an open mind and you stay organized and just have a clear path of what you stand for, and we were just talking about it, like it's a shame to see some businesses kind of sell out from what they started off or their purpose of starting, or their mission, because they're chasing some other dream. And sometimes growing bigger is you're spending more money in other places and you're not actually getting a bigger profit. And so yes, I just think as we grow and build wealth and success, like who are you intentionally bringing with you along on that journey? Are you stepping on toes, or are you being a light in your community and bringing your worth and your value through your products? So mahalo. This is my updated pictures of our family, but our three keiki. So thank you so much.
Awesome job.
All right, and now we will hear from Ben on how he got started with Mālama mushrooms.
Okay. I've made a lot of professional presentations, and this is not one of them. This is a lot of pictures to just accompany the words I'm about to spew.
It's not.
It's okay. I'm keeping it black for now.
Okay.
Yeah, this is probably a peculiar story. I hope some of it relates to all of your varied interests and aspirations. And at the very least, I hope it's inspirational and entertaining. My name's Ben. I'm addicted to mushrooms. I've been a mycophile for most of my life, which is someone that is just in love and fascinated by mushrooms and mycology. I grew up in the Midwest in Wisconsin, kind of surrounded by conventional agriculture. So it's funny you brought up pesticides, because that's a common theme in my story too, is just like surrounded by industrial agriculture and pesticides, and like not really down for that. I was part of just the slow organic food movement, and that was kind of the world I wanted to live in. And so I was involved in just like small farming communities. And around this time, in my early 20s, I learned about this gentleman, Paul Stamets, who's like the godfather of mushrooms. A lot of you may know him. He has a TED Talk called 6 Ways Mushrooms Can Save the World. And I saw this, and it utterly changed my life. In it, he describes how mushrooms can actually break down pollutants in our groundwater and soil, such as motor oil, plastics, and pesticides. So fungus is the grand disassemblers of nature, and they can actually break down these compounds and make them inert so that water and soil are safe again. And that blew my mind. And around the same time, I had my first experience with psilocybin mushrooms. I hope there's no law enforcement in the attendance today. And that also was very profound. I was also I had Lyme's disease at this time, and that had kind of given me some significant health issues. And that, along with non-hallucinogenic mushrooms such as reishi, also very much helped me on my healing journey. So, I'm learning all this science stuff about them being able to save the world, essentially, through what's called microremediation, is when they break down the pollutants, and then I'm experiencing the medicinal qualities of them, and I just knew I wanted to devote my life to mushrooms and learning more about them. And as a person that needs to work, I was like, well, the best way to make this my life is to find a job related to it. You know, we spend a lot of our lives, for better or for worse, working. So if you can make your job related to a topic you like, at least you can get paid to learn about it or at least celebrate it. So unfortunately, no one was hiring for enthusiastic mushroom guy. So I knew I had to create the job myself. So in my early 20s, I was farming in South Kona. I was growing lettuce on an aquaponics farm. And on this farm, there was a lava tube cave. And we always joked that the cave would be a good place to grow mushrooms. It's dark, it's humid, it's got airflow coming through it. And I had cultivated mushrooms in my dorm room closet in college, very briefly. And so I just began studying more, applying it to gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. So I scoured the internet. There's many good free resources I found, including whole books that the online PDFs are on there. And I began attempting to grow mushrooms in this lava tube cave. And in 2015, I had my first fruits. Yeah, these pictures are severely blown out, but I'll send this out to everybody. These are some beautiful pink oysters, the first mushrooms in my fruit. And that was the start of Mālama mushrooms. I made a crazy bad website. It was more of a mushroom manifesto than anything. This is all my text about mycofiltration, mycoremediation. This is the Kohala Farmers Market where I was selling them, and Rishi. I knew I needed a little bit of capital to attempt to grow this mushroom empire. I was trying to do medicine, food, mycoremediation, and I want to save the world with mushrooms. So I did a Kickstarter, and I raised $1,700. But with Kickstarter, if you don't reach your goal, at least back then, you don't get any of it. So I didn't meet my goal, which was probably like $3,000. So I didn't get any of it. So I was kind of discouraged, and I realized that if I just had a product, I could sell the product and get the revenue to support my mushroom dreams of saving the world. So, and I also realized I was way in over my head. I had never worked for anyone doing what I was trying to do, let alone do it myself. So I looked around at what I could do locally to get that experience. So I got a job at Cyanotech, growing their astaxanthin algae for their bioastin product, which you guys probably know about. And that was a really good experience for being part of the process from cultivation to product development. And they're in Whole Foods nationwide, so it was just a cool local experience to get. So I made, my first product was this capsule product called Rishi Restore. I unfortunately found out that the Department of Agriculture prevents us from growing certain strains of mushrooms because they're potential invasive species. And reishi is one of them, but it also has hundreds of clinical studies showing that it helps, hundreds of scientific studies, including several clinical studies, that it helps with immunocompromised people, cancer patients, anxiety, etc. So reishi was kind of it's very much it's a mushroom of immortality in traditional Chinese medicine. So this was the one I wanted to start with. It had helped me. So I found a supplier for that and made this first product, and this is one of my first demos at Island Naturals, and they were my first account. They were my only account for the longest time. And a gentleman came in who was checking out my product. He's like, I have a laboratory. I want to talk to you. So it turns out he was one of the cannabis license holders on the island. So he offered me a job doing product development. And again, I was not confident in what I was doing. I still felt like I didn't know much. I just knew I loved mushrooms. So I spent the next year working for them, developing cannabis products, more like powder tablet forms of cannabis, which was kind of unique and novel at the time. So that was an awesome experience because I got paid to learn, and which is, a good thing for what I was going to do. But the mushrooms were calling me again. I was just I had a nice lifestyle, cannabis, I was playing with cannabis as a job. As you can imagine, that's attractive to a lot of people. But the mushrooms was nagging me in the back of my head, and I was just something was calling me. I needed to listen to that. So I in one of my demos, I had the capsule product and I was demoing it out, and people aren't excited to like, oh, thank you, a pill, you know? So I would make these like cacao concoctions to let people taste it. And they were like, hey, can I just buy this cacao concoction? I'm like, no, but that gave me an idea for a product. So the first product was this Rishi hot cacao coffee and tea mix. This is a very early bag and label. There's a lot going on with it, as you can see. And again, when you see the better resolutions of these, it's crazy. But I sold this for a while. You know, was doing demos just at Island Naturals. Got into Island Naturals Hilo. You know, made an Instagram. And then it was 2018, and there was this mushroom wave happening internationally, but especially on the mainland. And like the #1 selling coffee on Amazon was a mushroom coffee. It was just like getting very big. In Kona, it was still like, what is this guy doing selling mushrooms? Like no one really got it. But I saw this wave happening, and like in this analogy of the wave, I was like, I need to like paddle now or I'm gonna miss it. So I couch surfed on the West Coast, and I traded my friend old laptop for this truck, and I had my entire inventory of like mushroom powders and bags and sealers and boxes in the back, and I pretty much went down the West Coast, and I would like pay rent in Eugene, Oregon, for example, for a month, and just like work on trying to get into stores there. You know, I'd get my little shelf placement, and one thing I would do that my now girlfriend, at the time friend, gave me advice on, because she was in this industry-ish. She said, like, make sure you do demos. Like, once you get into the store, getting on the shelf is half the battle. Then you need to move your product off the shelf. So I would post up in that town and do demos every day, sampling the product and trying to sell it, and ultimately trying to get 1,000 true fans, which is a concept I'll talk about later. But yeah, these are just like old photos of me, very malnourished. I wasn't getting much sunlight. I was literally just doing this. My health was compromised. I then had a second product. This is another concept that we'll probably talk about, is I should have had multiple products, because I was doing all this effort with one product. And you know, if I get into one store, they order one case. If I had 3 different products, they would have ordered 3 cases. So something I learned later, and I advise people to maybe develop at least 3. But this is the article of 1,000 True Fans, and this is the concept I was talking about. It's from this gentleman, Kevin Kelly, who is a tech guy but irrelevant. His whole concept is, if you're like an entrepreneur or an artist or a musician, you don't need to be the next, you know, in the case of business, Pepsi Cola, or a musician like, I don't know who's popular today, is the Demon Hunter guys. You just have to have 1,000 true fans that are willing to buy your honey once a month, or buy your mixtape when it drops, or buy your art. And that's enough to sustain your life, you know, make it so you don't have to work a job you don't like and you support your family. So it's a great article. I recommend everybody to read it, but in my head, that was like a manageable number to digest. Is like, if I'm going to these stores, all I have to do is get 1,000 customers. And another big thing I'm big on is email marketing, is like collect their emails, because that's a direct line of communication with people. In this age of Google ads, Meta ads, or Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever, you know, you pay for these ads, and it's, you know, maybe it's like a bidding contest. Whoever outbids you can show your stuff. So I'm on email and like SMS. We can talk more about that later. Did some trade shows in California, and I wasn't prepared for it, but I tried it. COVID happened. I'm still kind of just like, I'm back in Hawaii, by the way, at this point, but I'm like going out there trying to get more stores. And yeah, we're lucky we got some cool features randomly in like some big publications, and that helped a lot, and I needed help. I hired a bunch of friends here locally to just help me start packaging. I brought in my family, it's my mom, dad, and sister. And just brought my family in to really help me run the biz. And eventually, yeah, we started getting a little more professional with things. We won a Nexty Award for our 100% Hawaii lion's mane extract, which was our friends in Lahaina had a mushroom farm. I'm sorry, they're in Makawao, but they sold most of their mushrooms to restaurants in Lahaina. So when the fires happened, they had no more market to sell. So we began dehydrating their lion's mane and extracting it with our alcohol, which I'll talk about in a bit. And yeah, we won this like Nexty Award for it. But anyway, we just kept getting into these little mom and pop stores around the country, and that's a big part of our business. Direct line of communication with our customers. Again, we are in a peculiar state where we're not able to cultivate all these medicinal mushrooms here, but lion's mane is one where we are allowed to, and that's kind of what we focus on locally. We sell it fresh to restaurants. This is Chef Rhoda, and then also through markets like the Kohala Food Hub, and then we have a big value-added product business with ingredients that are super medicinal, but unfortunately can't be cultivated here. And big shout out to the bees again.
Thank you.
Our alcohol for those extracts come from Hawaii honey that is fermented into a mead and distilled into a mead shine. So trying to do right by local ingredients wherever we can. And I really liked what Kailin said about the community. It's like if you're not doing something for your community or making yourself, being true to your original mission and what wakes you up in the morning, it's not worth doing. So we started this project. So a lot of people know about the endemic species of Hawaii, but not a lot of people know there's actually a lot of endemic mushrooms that occur here. And they wrote a field guide about the mushrooms of Hawaii, but it's outdated already. There's already new things that are popping up here that weren't in the book, so they're potentially invasive species. Not to mention they missed a lot of the native species that grow here, and a lot of those don't have scientific names or are acknowledged by mycologists around the world. So we started this nonprofit called the Hawaii Fungi Project. We began collecting and documenting the mushrooms that grow here. This is Rhodocalibia lalaha. It's a native mushroom. During this project, the University of Hawaii Pharmacology Department did tests on it showing that it outperformed ampicillin, which is, I believe, an antibiotic. So it was showing better results than that. I'm just kind of ranting about mushroom stuff locally now, but we began the Hawaii Mushroom Festival, which is really more so the Hawaii Mushroom Symposium. Jesse helped me out with it, where we taught people how to cultivate mushrooms locally on cardboard and banana leaf. So one of our biggest exports is unfortunately cardboard, because we buy so much stuff and it comes here and then we just have to ship it off. So part of the intention of this symposium was to teach people how to grow mushrooms locally on waste streams, how to identify mushrooms that are growing locally, and so on and so forth. And what was crazy is, so this is actually here at Nioli'i, and our friend Alohi was involved in the festival, had a diesel generator leak in her lo'i a few years back. And what was really relevant, we weren't even able to help right away because they had Ridge to Reef come and use mycoremediation to help restore the lo'i. But at Hawaii Mushroom Fest, a group of individuals brought the testing kit to test the soil, and we were able to confirm that the mycoremediation had worked. So just really cool stuff. We're involved with the Clarity Project, which is dedicated to getting psilocybin mushrooms legal, or at least for medical access in the state, which I didn't say this in the beginning, but psilocybin has helped people with postpartum depression, end-of-life anxiety for the terminally ill, and much, much more, post-traumatic stress disorder. It's showing to be a miraculous compound when used in the correct set and setting. We did this Kauai survey recently, and we found 40 new species not reported in Hawaii yet. So there's never reports of some of these mushrooms occurring in Hawaii, like for example this one. But then we also documented several invasive species that are showing up more rampantly in native habitat. So people need to study mushrooms. That's a different talk. Okay, last cool thing, and this is not about business still, but the school, a private school on Oahu, Iolani, very well resourced, was donated a mobile genetics lab, and we've been, but they have a full-time staff member whose job is to go to other high schools in the state, including Hawaii immersion schools, and teach them projects related to these genetics materials, such as like GMO papaya, so they're able to test their like local papayas to see what's GMO and what's not. Really cool. I bugged them last year about doing a mushroom project and was able to help them take kids into the field looking for mushrooms and genetically sequenced them, and they made these beautiful little like sheets about the mushrooms they found and Microporous xanthopus. And this is just one example. This is a new, like no one knows what this mushroom is. So these kids may have very well discovered a new fungus.
Very cool.
Anyway, I do a lot of mushroom conservation work now. But back to business. These are 4 quick principles I just wanted to drill down, and I'll tell you how they related. So 1, scratch your own itch. I think in both our situations, yeah, we weren't business people. We weren't looking to make a buck. We were both intrigued and impassioned by something occurring around us that we were experiencing. The hive in Kailin's case, and me, just mushrooms were very, very interesting to me. So I think that is a powerful thing to follow, is like you're impassioned by something, like follow that. Like don't do something for the money, like just follow the interest. My second principle is you can do anything, you can't do everything. So especially farmers, like if you're a full-time farmer, I give nothing but credit to you, and that is a big undertaking. And I realized while I was farming, it's like I need to put everything into farming or figure out marketing and networking and like traveling around the country just trying to get healthy medicinal mushrooms and develop this brand. So yeah, all this say is that's my mantra. I'm also like, that's just my personality, is I can't really multitask too well. I just need to go heads down on stuff. So maybe that doesn't apply to you, but just something to consider. This is the big one I'm serious about, is you don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. If you prefer sports analogies, you don't have to hit a home run. You just have to get on base is kind of another one. So like a lot of people, and myself included, was very hesitant to get started because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I knew I was doing something wrong. But like honestly, the willingness to fail and to learn is such a skill. Just make sure that failing doesn't mean anything like too serious. Like don't overextend your cash flow or like put yourself in harm's way. But like don't focus on just getting everything right. Just try stuff out, fail, and learn. That's the biggest thing. Again, you can't see these, but like my packaging iteration was like pretty horrendous. And it still might not be good, but it looks better than before. And finally, the 1,000 True Fans concept, I think that's huge. And totally meaningful or manageable, especially if you think about it in terms of 100, like start in increments of 100. And know like, for better or for worse, like Hawaii has a lot of the tourist market, which we don't want to be dependent on. I think all of us are generally in agreement of that. But in the meantime, what if someone that comes buys your product, you get their email, they never come back here, and they become a customer for life though? That's just stuff to think about, is with the power of email and SMS, like this world is abundant. And one thing I didn't mention is, while I was on the road, I was using a lot of commercial kitchen spaces, and such as that weren't my own, obviously. And so what I think Kohala Food Hub is doing here and offering is like such a game changer. If I had one of these in Kona, I didn't even talk about, we were in our apartment, like I was sleeping in the kitchen, like both, like it was madness. Like I wish we had a commercial kitchen in Kona and everywhere I was trying to operate, but. Anyway, sorry for the word vomit, and I'm Ben, and that's my contact if you want to talk to me more.
All right. So just for time's sake purposes, I think we'll jump right into our panel, and we'll probably cut it at, let's say 2:45, so we'll go for about half an hour of the discussion. And then if you do have questions, please, write them down now so you remember, or, we'll answer them all at the end, as many as we can.
Can I just add one thing? Because I was saying when I was talking about like the tourist market at the farmers market, and when you said that, that's so true of why it wasn't sustainable for us. Also, we weren't collecting emails or keeping in touch. And it was the kind of people who were like, oh, I'm just going to get like a little trinket to take home or whatever you want to call it. But I think that's kind of why in my mind I was like, that's not the kind of people. And when you said the 1,000 true fans, like that's totally what has grown our business. But I didn't know what it was called, or I've never heard that saying. But that is why I truly believe that's why our business has become so successful, because that's all you really need. You just need those 1,000 or just the true fans and those people that keep coming back. And yes, so I just wanted to add that. Like, I think it's super important to have different, like you said, not putting all your eggs in one basket. You can sell to tourists, but it's good to have different avenues. So like when COVID happened and one crashes, you have other streams of income to rely on, and it's not, you're losing and you're stuck and all your product is going to one place. So yeah.
Fully agree. Thank you for bringing that up. And I would piggyback off that too, just to reiterate, I think for me, one of the biggest success factors I've seen in many businesses is relationships. And I think we'll talk about that a little bit in the panel too. But your internal relationships, of course, with your team, your staff, but your external relationships as well. And I do a lot of work in branding and marketing, but I used to work in sales. And I had a coworker many years ago say to me, "You want to build transformational relationships with your customers, not transactional ones." And I think that has stuck with me through everything. And yeah, it rings true. All right, so diving into our first question here, the topic of foundations and lessons learned. So on the note of foundations and lessons learned, when you think back to your early days, what do you wish you had known before launching your value-added product line? What were some of your biggest early mistakes or lessons that helped shape or reshape your brand? Or within that, speak to some of your biggest hurdles you've overcome. You want to start?
Sure. I won't go too deep in that, but I think knowing your value, and I know for me it was really hard when we started to give people a price, or like when somebody asked, especially for our services, but I would like stay up at night over raising our price of our honey like $1, and I'm like, really, you're at the market and $1 doesn't really mean that much a customer is not gonna be like fretting over $1, but for me to raise our price like $1, I was just like, I don't know if this is okay, is it worth that much? And then sometimes here too, like the price of honey if you're down south, there's all these huge commercial operations, so in my mind I didn't think our honey could hold the same value or cost of what we could sell it for. So I think just being confident, like if we had been more confident in our products, and we didn't start also with all of our value-added products. So we make an infused or a blend of olana honey, which is turmeric. We do a ava honey. We do a spicy honey, which is all peppers that our family grows on our farm. It's kind of what is in abundance. We partnered with the Waimea Herb Company to do a lavender honey. And so when we started, we just had the one product, just like you. And we were putting all the effort at the markets, and then you're selling one jar of honey, and was it $15 at the time? And so when we branched out and had more options, we figured out, in one of my pictures, I had a 4-pack of a box with a little smaller sizes. Now we're shifting a $15 sale to a 4-pack, which is 4 for $50, and they get to try all the different honeys, and then they come back because they love them so much, and they're gonna buy the bigger jar. Because you're not gonna have someone who doesn't know you, who you don't have a relationship with, right off the bat, I want the big one, I'm willing to invest this much. And it's so silly for pricing as well, of like, they'll pay more per ounce for a little jar than a big jar, and you get way more, but I don't want to spend $20, but I'll spend $14 and it's only like a quarter of the jar, but silly things like that. Having samples and kind of, it wasn't like our plan to like, here, we're gonna do this and they're gonna come back for more, but it kind of eventually that's what happens. So I guess like something I would have done is had more sizes and more options available, and same for, I think same for wholesale like markets where you're gonna put all the effort and they're gonna buy one case of honey or one type of your product. But if you have different options, then you tripled your income just then on one order. You're still delivering, you're still making the same amount of effort, but you have more to offer. So I don't know if that's everything I was thinking, but
That's great.
yeah.
Ben, did you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that's honestly the biggest thing is varieties and including sizes. Like, yeah, you want the people that love your product to be able to get a bigger, more value thing. And just to her point about the wholesale thing is like, yeah, a product on the shelf too like looks weird when there's just one. Like if you have 3 of different flavors, like otherwise it's like there's something weird in our heads where it's like just a random one-off product doesn't look as attractive as like a set with options. Like
not as much of an established brand.
Yes, yeah, they might not be an established brand, and yeah, like. Just something to add there that someone told me.
And the fuller my shelves are, the more I sell.
There you go. There you go.
Consumer psychology. Yeah. Abundance.
Yeah.
Sells. Awesome.
And that's something at markets too that we've learned. Like we'll ship honey to Oahu and do some bigger markets, and we always send way more than we know we're gonna need, because the last thing you want is one jar. Even if it's your most popular product, it's not like, oh, there's only one left, I want it. You want everything to look full. You don't want it to be like, I only have a couple of these because it's so popular. You're like, no, I want to feel like, it wants to feel like, yes, I have an abundance and this is what I can offer and share. So I think for display wise, if that's what you're doing, it's good to, even if you know I'm not going to sell 60 cases today, you just bring the extra so you can make your table look full or make your display.
And Oahu, you get in the right market.
And you meet the right people. Yes.
60,000 people show up.
Yes.
So you can't take too much.
Yes. Yes. That's pretty much, you take as much as you possibly can. Yeah.
All right, so now diving into sourcing, what agreements, relationships, or logistics are important when sourcing seconds or surplus product? And within that, how do you safely establish a trustworthy working relationship or identify trustworthy suppliers? Ben, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the best to speak on this because we really just have, and maybe this is the answer, but we kind of have just a few people we work with, and we try to limit it to people that we trust and know, and yeah, like working with and haven't been burned by. Like it's a small circle,
Which is hard to find.
Which is hard to find, yeah. So, yeah, we don't have many. I don't think I have any contracts with anybody, but there's definitely like we trust people, and maybe that's naive, but.
Did that trust come from just pure time?
Yeah, time, and also in some like spending actual time together with people. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of both there. Yeah. But I guess in terms of safety, just something to think about is like we do third-party lab testing for stuff, just more so for our customer, not because we suspect anything, but it's just nice for, especially coming from the cannabis industry, like labs are a thing. Like people want to see 0 pesticides and et cetera. So that's just something that we do.
Safety standards.
Safety standards and transparency of safety stuff.
I had a thought on that too. When we started, like I said, we had all this honey stashed behind our couch, and we started doing the markets, and then we started kind of selling our honey more than we were able to harvest, and we were kind of stuck like, what do? We don't want to lose our spot at the farmer's market, but now I don't have as much, but who do we get honey from? Or do we even want to do that? Because that's not what we built our brand off of. We built our brand off of rescuing bees. So it also not having the amounts that we're growing as fast as we were growing kind of hindered us at first, because I didn't know how to. What do you do? Like, we want to grow our business, but I don't have the amount. So do we have to stop at, if I have leftover fruit on my trees, I can only make what I have. But only in the last few years, we've definitely outgrown what we can harvest and make ourselves. And we've found local beekeepers here in Kohala and that will sell in bulk. And so, like I said, maybe it's not somebody that normally sells in bulk, or maybe you usually sell at the market, but it's always good to have different options. So we can source from them when we need, and we know them personally and know where their bees are coming from. But we have also sourced from bigger commercial operations that maybe have varieties of honey that we can't produce in the same amounts, like the white Kiave honey. And financially or economically, it's a very smart business decision. So like, if you're making a product with something you have in abundance, but you've created an amazing product and then your season is over, it doesn't hurt to go see who else has, like, maybe 5 people have extra soursop or whatever it is growing, but you don't have enough as one person to make a product, but you could purchase it in bulk. Or just getting creative, I guess, of like, once you establish your product, you can find the avenues, but don't let it stop you from growing your business. Like, yeah.
So it sounds like, again, personal or face-to-face relationships are important to both of you, or keeping it local, again, wherever possible. And then the transparency piece you talked about as well to your customers. So our next question is in production process and workflow. And the question is, what does an efficient production flow look like for your products? What kinds of systems or production improvements have you made over the years that have created the biggest impact on either efficiencies for the business or margins for your business? Kailin, do you want to?
You can. I think you had something to say about like
batching.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind is I'm guilty of like operating pretty like hand to mouth, at least initially when it was like just me. And like, so like if I got an order, I would literally like just do enough to fulfill that one order because I feel frantic and like I got other stuff I need to focus on after that. But I definitely wish I would have done myself a bigger favor and like just devoted a time to like, I'm gonna label all these bags for an hour, and then I'm gonna mix all these ingredients, and then I'm gonna fill all these bags, and then I'm gonna seal. That's definitely could be a nicer way to operate, especially kinder to yourself.
Time management or blocking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing that came to mind when we were talking about this is like speaking of labeling bags, like we hand labeled everything for years and like up until probably just like a couple years ago still. And I was just very conservative with spending things because like bigger suppliers of like printing stuff have minimum order quantities, MOQs, and I was just hesitant to commit. Like I was like, what if we mess up and there's like a misprint or something? But then it was like years in, it's like, no, we keep doing the same label and we're hand labeling. I'm like, let's just get our bags printed. And my employees were suggesting it, and because they were tired of labeling things. So, listen to your employees and like make life easier. If you can have, in this case, something printed versus having to hand label, do it. And there's like little efficiencies like that. Like for our tinctures, we have this awesome like peristaltic pump thing and like this kind of like automated bottle labeler too. Like there's just those little things mean a lot and save you time and efficiencies. And but like initially, you don't spend money you don't have on efficiencies you don't need. Like do things by hand for a while and like make sure you have your product market fit and that you have customers and sales and all that stuff. Yeah.
I was laughing about the labeling because like I did the same where you have to do a minimum order to get the fancy labels like worth it, and I'm like, it's hard to commit to like that. Like what if this product doesn't work, or what if we change the size, or I don't know. But then after a while you're like, oh, I just labeled 1,000. Like I could have got the roll and it would have been much nicer. So Yeah.
Did you have anything
Anything?
more you want to add to that, Kailin? Efficiencies, systems.
I guess just like remembering your time is the most valuable thing that you have. So it's nice. We were saying like some friends that have businesses, they kind of end up hiring everybody out, and we really pride ourselves. We were both talking about this a lot. Every single jar, every single product we have a part in, and we touch literally every single one, whether it's packing it, making it, the whole thing, the whole process. Like we touch every single jar, and if anything was to ever go wrong or spoil, we would know exactly where and what step in the process. So I think that's great to have help but sometimes that can backfire. And like we've tried to have help in certain areas that ended up costing us more time to fix what was the mistake than just doing it. So I guess remembering your time, the worth of your time, but also like not being afraid to put in the hard work at the beginning. Like you're in your kitchen, we were over here in our little house at 2 o'clock in the morning spinning honey all night long while our newborn baby was sleeping down the hallway. Like you'll get to a point when you can hand things off to other people, but at the beginning, if you love it, you gotta put the sweat and the time and the energy and the late nights, and it's gonna pay off eventually. But building the systems, like the invoicing and all the things that you're gonna need to do, or the things that you don't like to, make it easier so that you can do it. Like make a system where I really hate emails, and like I get the same requests all the time, and I haven't even, so I should take my own advice, but having like something written out that you can easily send, so it's not getting put off and your to-do list constantly grows, but finding ways to like actually manage your time so that it's not something you hate to do, and also efficient, so you can get to the other important things, or prioritizing, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nice.
I think we could jump 2 questions because we kind of just talked about that one. So jumping into packaging and labeling, which is a really important one, and I think someone from our audience had a question too in one of the RSVPs. But first of all, what are the most important packaging considerations, both from a design or branding perspective and also for functionality? And that could mean, shelf life if you're, shipping and handling if you're transporting your package, leakage, and of course, important compliance, whether it's DOH or FDA. What do you guys want to start with that?
I just had a thought, if you're, like we were talking of we had talked about different products. And so labels can get pricey. And so if you can design something, or if you don't have the design background or experience or feel comfortable, it's okay to get help on that. But there's ways too for labels to design one label. If you have different sizes where maybe it's like a checkbox, so you can still meet the minimum order for the more affordable price of your orders, but use the same label for your different products. Even for flavors as well, if it's something that's similar but a different flavor, and you can mark it off on a box or have something that you can save in that way. Another label tip I got recently from the Locavore store is they got a thermal printer, because they make so many different products and it's different all the time. And so the Hawai'i Seed Company also does the same thing. The only downfall is it's only black and white, but the labels are really affordable, like a cent or two cents, and you can print them yourself. But that works for them because they can just print, like for a shop, what you're making, what you need, and then you're not spending a huge dollar a label. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're wholesaling something for $6 or $5 and your label costs $1, that's a big chunk of your margin. I think that's all I have right now.
Yeah, I think what I would add to that is
Or your bag's falling.
yeah, functionality, like our bags don't stand up really well, and so it doesn't matter for e-commerce per se, because people I mean, if it's in their pantry, it's not a huge deal if it like tips over and stands over enough. But for stores where there's a line of like 6 of them and like someone like bumps something and they all domino over, like, and the stocker who like doesn't care anything about who you are, your product, like he or she is just like trying to manage the shelves and make them tidy, like will be cursing your name or curses my name because they like he sets them up and then they just fall over again. So like that little things like that. We like have caddy displays now, so like they kind of sit in something, but like people throw those out all the time. Like it's something we're still working on. But when I was doing the capsule product, like, you know, someone had told me like you need to be able to see everything, and like you don't want any important information to have to spin if it's a bottle, you know, on the shelf. Like you need to convey all your messages in one plane of sight if it's a rounded thing. Obviously like ingredient, and so, you know, you're gonna have the other details and like where you're making it and UPC and stuff on the back, but like for your front, like make sure it's in one plane. Yeah, there's other stuff like that. I think I like got lucky just like ordering bags off Amazon originally, like just craft bags, and I think for all intents and purposes here, like the craft vibe or like the jar vibe is like authentic and real for us. Like you don't need to hire a New York agency to do this huge design thing. Like it's about your story and what's inside the packaging that matters most. And so that's just something to think about too.
I second that on the craft. Like we still use for our 4-packs, I order craft brown boxes, but we have a custom stamp with our logo. So it is like one more step of stamping, but it's something that my kids can be a part of, and they're like stamping and folding the boxes. It really doesn't take so much, and like it still has that personalized touch of like where we started from with our paper craft label, but we've grown to this, but it still keeps us kind of rooted to our beginning.
And that's
like something like that is simple. We have little drawstring bags, as simple as a stamp that you can just personalize it to your brand.
So it's an affordable way to brand something.
Yes.
With easily accessible packaging.
Yeah.
You can add to that.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing I thought of was, and I think we both talked about this, is like having a professional in some cases. Like, you know, do what you can, but like don't be afraid. Like there's a local gal in Kona that like paid for an hour, just like sit with me and like let's move stuff around together. And I feel like I've essentially taken a design class by just working with her on my thing. And like certain things that I recommend to people is like, especially for my stuff, was like less fonts. Like I had 5 different types of fonts and colors, like simple's better, space, like let it breathe. Again, we can all look at the examples, like everything was to the margins, like it was crazy. Like I've now practiced, I'm a big fan of space, having ample space, less busyness, less fonts, typefaces, like simpler and cleaner is better. Yeah. At least, you know.
Do you have a brand board?
I don't have a brand board. I should though, yeah.
So when I started, you can find online classes. So I did an online course called Brand Build Blog. So it worked. It started through where you choose inspiration photos, and from those photos you pull out your brand colors. So you end up with this board at the end with your like 3 or 4 colors of your brand. You have your two or 3 fonts, and then every time you go to design something, you come back to that same board. Your color is the same. It's pretty like, it's like a template for you for everything that you're moving forward. And from that course, it also taught us how to build a Squarespace website. And so I really like that because web design can be pretty expensive. And then if you need to change anything or edit anything and you didn't learn how to do it, you gotta hire somebody every time to fix it for you. So I like Squarespace because it's pretty user-friendly and pretty drag and drop, and we can edit it and as much as we need to. And one more thing, I think like in today's day and age, it is worth it to hire or get a professional photographer for your product shots. Because even if you don't have the perfect labeling and you have really professional photos, that makes a big difference in just marketing and I don't value social media so much, so I have a hard time because I like to put my effort where in the things that I value, but I do value how it connects people and does help people to recognize your brand. So at the start, it is worth it to put some time into that, but you'll be surprised how often you need photos. Like for this kind of thing, we're gonna do a workshop, we're gonna do a market. Can we have some photos of your product? And you don't wanna be digging and trying to take one outside on a nice day. If you have a set of just like at least one of every product that you can share. Kohala Food Hub, we'd love to sell your product. Do you have any pictures of your stuff? It just helps you. It's one thing off your list of like, here you go. It's gonna help my product sell and having nice photos.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would invest in that, probably.
I can't emphasize that enough as well. Being in that world, I think we're in a really new time or new era now with branding, especially. I think for some of these younger generations too, millennials and Gen Zers even more, really look at the aesthetic of a brand first. We've become such a visual world. People don't like to read as much anymore, so you can, kind of what you were talking about earlier, but you can have so much information on there, but it becomes overwhelming to the customer, and people are much less apt to read these days. So I think having really clean, crisp, professional content, pictures, and just like really polished branding in your labeling, your packaging is important to kind of stand out, especially in crowded spaces. Like, I mean, there's so many honey products down, there's so many mushroom products. So.
And I don't know if you've heard of Canva, but it's a great design tool for very do-it-yourself. But there's lots of different fonts, so you're not just picking the like Times New Roman off of a Word document. But it's very user-friendly. They even have, it's called Canva. It's just an online. Canva. But you can even type in templates where it'll have, and you pull your picture. You can kind of, it's
like a Photoshop for dummies.
Yeah.
Very intuitive and easy to use.
Yeah.
Could I just add one thing too? That was a great point about product photography, and again, something we didn't do right for years. And then when we attempted it, I paid my friend Scott, who had photography experience, to essentially build a little white box with lights, and we took all these photos of all these products, and then we changed our labels soon after, and so just a recommendation. I used this service, and there's probably a bunch of these out there, but their whole business is product photography for online listings. They're called Upgraded Images. He's in Southern California, so it's not local, but maybe there's someone that does this locally, and please let me know if so. And it's his name's Ken, and he the pricing's really transparent. I mean, I think it's like 20 or 30 bucks a photo. I forget if that's front and back, but super professional, very quick. Send your product back. Obviously, if you have perishables, that's not maybe as much as an option, but you could send a jar filled with, something that's not perishable just to get the photo. But yeah, there's little services like that. When I was designing the first printed bags, I used this company called Roastar. They're based in Wisconsin. That's just a coincidence. But they had a really good 3D, you would send in your design and it would show you a 3D version that you could spin around and really look at. And again, as someone who's very conservative and scared to commit to printing something that had, economical ramifications for me, and if I messed it up, that was really nice to do that. They would send me a proof. So yeah, there's a bunch of little resources like that if at any point on your journey you're what's a good resource for XYZ, feel free to reach out to either of us. I'm sure we've tested bad suppliers and good suppliers, so yeah.
And don't be afraid to ask about trading, because I think that's another thing we really pride our business on. We've traded roofing for our dog kennel with honey. We've gotten a cow. We've traded for all the things you could possibly think of. So don't be afraid to ask and say, hey, will you take some photos, or find some photography students at the high school, or get creative. It doesn't have to be a $800 photo shoot for your products, but try to get creative. Don't be afraid to ask, I guess. trade is our number one. We go to the big markets made in Hawaii and go around at the end and just, hey, I have a little left over here. Try a sample. Like, be nice and don't be shy. Like, get out of. I'm a super shy person. Like, I don't like to go talk to people that I don't know. But I've learned that, like, if you're passionate about what you're talking about, it's not hard to talk to new people. And like, just get out there and don't be afraid to ask. Like,
Good call.
trade is key. Yeah.
Do you know, real quick, Kailin, is that online course you did, is it still available?
I'm not sure. It was a little, like 12, yeah, like 11 years, possibly. If I can find it, I'll send a link.
Thank you. So product line strategy, we'll try to squeeze a couple more in here. How many unique products would either of you recommend a new business starting out today, and why? And I know you touched a little bit on this earlier, Ben. Have you ever cut a product from your line? And if so, what led to that decision? Do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. Again, I think 3 is like the magic number. Start with 3 varieties and maybe 2 sizes of each would be ideal. Obviously, that's a lot, but like that is like maybe your like goal. But like starting with 1 and just getting feedback is a great place to start too. So don't be discouraged if you only have 1. And then, yeah, we had mushroom chocolate bars that we had to cut from our line because it was just really hard for, one, the cacao industry had really bad rainy seasons that like led to a deficit in what was available. We were working with this chocolate maker and just like, we weren't his number 1 priority, and we felt that and was like constantly having to like annoy him to get just a response on stuff, and then like shipping it in the winter, in the summer was always very tedious. Buying a lot of ice packs, like shipping ice packs is not fun. So yeah. Those were that.
And I'm gonna kill 2 birds with 1 stone because I know the next question is about like how do you keep your creativity and like your unique products. So I agree. You should start with a few different products and the 2 sizes. I like having a smaller size so people can try it and then they come back for the bigger one. But we have cut products just because it's out of season, or we bring it back as a seasonal product, which actually benefits more because it's like, get it now or it's gone. And then everybody rushes to get it and they're waiting to come back. So they're like checking when you're gonna have it available, and they it keeps the relationship going where they're like looking forward to what's to come. And then we've cut things like we used to make beeswax food wraps, and it's just like, realistically, making it all ourselves was so much time and effort, and as much as we love them and it's a popular product, your time is your most valuable thing. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a common theme.
Yes.
Let's talk about financials and startup costs. So hypothetically, if you, or for any of our new aspiring businesses out there, if you had to start on a very tight budget, a shoestring budget, what would you prioritize, and what are the major startup costs in the first year of operation that we could anticipate?
I would make sure your product, whatever you're making, is good. Like if it's a good product and it comes in whatever it comes in, it's not going to matter, because if it's good, people are going to want it. So you can always grow your packaging and your labeling and all that, but if you don't have a good product, you don't really have anything. Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Is consistency is like it's not very relevant to this question, but that just made me think like you don't want in the case of retail sales, like your shelves empty ever, like especially if you have a retail partner, like they don't want any empty shelves. Like they want to keep, that people would pay and give free product to be on some people's shelves. So that was just something that brought it up. But on a very tight budget, I think we both started on a very tight budget, so this is very relevant. But like you can, for packaging, like people send you free samples like containerandpackaging.com. I remember you can literally order all these different types of bottles and stuff from there, and they'll send it to you pretty much for free, so you can like test stuff. Like I really need to like work with stuff hands-on to understand what it looks like. Amazon's return policy is awesome. Like find bags and stuff on there and just order it, play with it, and send it back if you don't need it or use it. I would prioritize, a product, like product market fit, like get feedback, do demos, do tastings, and not just to your friends, like get out in the community to strangers because they're gonna be more honest, and ultimately people, will answer with their dollars. Like if they are buying it, that tells you a lot. And yeah, I mean, you could do a lot with the farmer's market and just get in emails. Squarespace website, I also started in Squarespace, just like drag and drop, just get something out there, and direct communication with your customers with email. It's, MailChimp, I think, is like not that expensive. I use Klaviyo, but MailChimp's great.
I think MailChimp has a free option too.
Yeah, free options. I'm very bullish on email marketing. That's a direct line of communication to your customer. And other major startup costs, I mean, if you had to get a facility, that would be so significant. But the fact that you can rent from Kohala Food Hub, that like reduces your overhead to pretty much just like your ingredients and packaging and time. And yeah, so there's no excuse not to get started except, just like your time. So if you have time to experiment with getting it going, maybe getting a booth at a farmer's market. And honestly, you don't even need to do a farmer's market. Like just go post up somewhere. Like go door to door. Like,
We even did like, back in the day, we like couldn't even afford to order glass. So we would like we asked all our friends and family, like, do you have any glass? And then when people would purchase, if they bring back their jar, we actually took our honey to the market to refill jars at the market. So people bring their own jar and we filled it for them, and then they get a little discount. And so it was like incentive to come. And if you have the food hub, I'm sure we weren't to all the standards of all the requirements, but since there is the food hub and you can wash things and sanitize and meet all the
compliance.
Yes, compliance side of things, you just get creative.
One other hack that is really relevant to us and like Hawaii businesses is, Hawaii unfortunately imports so much here. There's a lot of empty freight leaving the islands, like empty planes, that there's FedEx has a subsidized shipping program, because as you're on this journey, you need to factor in your shipping costs. When you're like listing your online prices, for example, if you're doing that, that's a conversation to have with yourself is, are you baking your shipping cost into your price and offering free shipping, or are you going to charge shipping at the end, which has a higher amount of cart abandonment when people get hit with the shipping charge at the end? So that's a whole conversation. But regardless, shipping is a challenge for people doing business here. And FedEx has a subsidized shipping program that's essentially trying to help small businesses fill these empty planes that are leaving, that you can have super competitive, awesome rates that are the equivalent of like shipping in the state that it's going to. So I know about it through the Hawaii Floriculture Nursery Association, HFNA. That's how I heard about it, and you can like pay them a membership, but a bunch of organizations have it. I know Mana Up, I think, has an affiliation with it. There's others, but if that's something you're interested in, I can make sure that information gets to these guys. And
And I also use a website called Easy Ship, and so there's no membership, but we can ship a box of honey inter-island for around $8. And then recently we shipped like a 50-pound order by FedEx, and it was $22. So it's a little more pricey to the mainland, but I kind of like that because it gives our local people like a benefit for once. Shipping doesn't cost more to get something in Hawaii. But you can print your own labels. That is something I did invest in when we started doing more online, was a shipping label. What are those called?
Thermal printer.
Thermal printer. So we ship. The ladies at the post office don't hate me when I bring a wagon full of boxes, and they actually, I guess whatever post office you use, gets a percentage. So they like it when you bring your stuff and it's all labeled, and you can print like a manifest off of that website. So all your boxes going, they scan one paper, you drop it off, and you're good to go. So you don't have to spend so much on shipping. It's cheaper than the post office. And
saves time.
And you can also order free boxes off of USPS. So besides the flat rate boxes, there's like a square box. There's other sizes. There are priorities, so sometimes it's a little pricier than ground advantage, but you still get the cheaper rates off of. I use Easy Ship, but I'm sure you can use. There's Pirate Ship, and there's a whole bunch of other ones. But if you order the free boxes, it'll just come to your post office, and then you don't pay the flat rate. Like, it's cheaper to send it by the cubic rate. So that has helped us. Once we figured out the shipping, and for like our glass, we order boxes to pack the glass in the boxes. Like, we rarely now ever get anything broken. At the beginning, it took me a while to figure out how to pack it correctly and how to not spend so much on other like boxes or stuffing. So we get old newspaper from our family. That Kupana has stacks of newspaper in our house, so we get newspaper to pad around, and like we order those free boxes and we use that, and it go to Kohala Grill Market and look through their boxes over there for big things. But yeah, if you have any shipping or other like logistical kind questions, happy to help.
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Yeah, it is helpful to design your product with shipping in mind, and those free boxes, USPS, that's also what we used for a while, and that's like great, and we still use them. And then I remember like it was helpful to like write out like if someone orders this. Like one product, this is what we do. If they order two products, this is the box or whatever, the poly mailer we use, and like this is the cost. And like just really breaking it down granular like that, so it's your employees know.
It's easy because you already know this goes in this and this goes in. It's like that was the other thing I think that was helpful is having a space. We leveled up to a point where we got a grant to purchase like a steel small building, like a 20-foot kind of container house kind of thing. So we have all of our shipping things and all of our products, and we have everything, all of our glass stored in there. And like before, when we would do it out of our house, I would have to pull all the packing stuff and all the boxes and all the things and print the labels and cut it out. I didn't have the thermal printer and tape it on, and it just turned into a whole day with kids, and you can imagine what my house looked like afterwards. And so like having a dedicated space, even if it's just a table in an extra room or just a place you can go and everything's kind of set up for you, that makes it easier to fit into your day-to-day life. It's not like, okay, I gotta put out all this hours on the side to pack an order. Like just having a space that you can go to and takes 5 minutes and then continue on with what you need to do that day. That really helps for us.
Well, it is just 3 o'clock now. Do we have questions that didn't get answered through the panel from our audience? Well, I guess we've done pretty good then. Covered a lot. Awesome. Why don't we end with one important question, and then we'll call it a wrap. Let's see. And I would like to talk about, I think, market and sales channels. Last but not least, and we had a question from our audience, RSVPs. That question was, maybe we'll make this a two-parter, but how do you choose who is your market, and how far do you widen your scope in doing so? And what markets or sales channels were most successful early on for the two of you? And I know you've spoken a little bit about farmers markets, e-commerce, wholesale, retail, so maybe what you started with and what you'd recommend for folks just starting out.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning, I thought that all of our people, our customers were like me, like younger moms or families. And then after, I think getting out there and doing the markets and actually meeting customers is the best way to figure it out. Now when we're at these big, like Made in Hawaii, our actual market is kind of older generation, and usually my other half ends up talking to like the dad of the family or the grandpa who is just there to hold the bags for all his wives and daughters shopping. But those are like kind of more people who are interested in investing in their health. So I think just getting out there, we started at the farmers market, which helped us establish these relationships. And to this day, we haven't done the same farmers market in 6 years, but we still have people who text my phone and are like, can you drop off a jar of honey? And it's like every month we take a jar of honey and drop it off. And I think having I have one place, I have an app in my phone, but no matter if it's a text or an email or somebody I run into in the store and they say, can I get some honey from you? I always write it down in that place so it never gets forgotten. And I think that's a good tip to just, it'll surprise you when people forget they mentioned it or they'll forget. And if you reach out or you remember and you reach out to them, it makes a big difference in them feeling like important to you and your business. So.
What app do you use?
Oh, it's just called Asana. It's kind of like a notes, but I have so many other notes in my notes and I have so many other things in my reminders. I just have a separate one so it doesn't get lost with all my kids' stuff. And it's called Asana, ASAN. But it could be anything, just a place that it could be a notebook or anything, somewhere you keep it all together and remember to look at. But now, yeah, I think after doing the in-person, we do a lot of wholesale and online sales now, and that's what holds us over for income-wise between bigger markets. So I have an email list, but I am the absolute worst. I've probably sent 3 emails in our entire existence, so thank you for the tip.
Yeah. We'll talk.
I need to, but it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Oh, the wholesale orders and so we sell at the Kohala Food Hub, Kohala Ground Market, Kauai Marketplace, the Locavore store. It really isn't a whole bunch of places, but the kind of all local grocers. And we have a couple places in Oahu, which helps us when we go for markets, and whatever leftover product we have, we end up sending to Namea, Hawaii, or what is the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement just opened up a shop, pop-up makeke, but they have a shop now. So yeah, we're still Waihole Poi Factory. We don't have a whole big list, but that is enough to sustain us between the Mary Monarch and Made in Hawaii and the Ho'omau market. So we kind of learned that if we're doing all the effort to pack everything and go to a market, we might as well go big and go to the Made in Hawaii, and you get 60,000 people, and it's really hard to compare a Hilo market or Waimea market to going to Oahu. And logistically, once you figure out getting your product there, and if you can make it happen, I would definitely recommend doing that for the sheer number of people and how much they're willing to pay, especially for a big island or outer island product. We have all this abundance of things, and over there they're like, I haven't seen this in years, or it's a different market for sure. But I think also keeping in mind that that's great, but don't forget about everybody at home, and make sure that everybody at home is good first before you go out. That's my thinking anyway. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. How do you choose? So that's an interesting question, because I don't know if you actually choose your market as much as you create your product and there's a market for it. And if you want to be in a different market, you need to alter your brand or ingredient to fit that market. So yeah, but I was supplement witch medicine, like traditional medicine guy, like using those products. So like I would hang out at like Island Naturals in the supplement section, and that's kind of an expression of who I am, and that's where I ended up creating a product for. As far as like sales channels, I think like most of life, diversity is strength. So like you should be online, you should be in wholesale, you should be trying to maybe have your own little retail presence in some way, whether it's farmers markets or whatnot. But I definitely have always been like very afraid of having my own retail thing because I don't know, like I wouldn't want to work a retail job, and like I don't want to manage employees that work in retail, and like I don't know, there's something cool to be said for like having your product in other stores where their employees are selling. Like there's just something more powerful about not having to have your own thing. But at the same time, like people that have retail shops here like can do really well with that, but just not what I want to do. And the world, the internet has changed society that it's infinite. Your customer base can be fully online potentially. Not that you necessarily want that or I want that, but that is the power of the internet. But when I started, I had no online skills. I had a Squarespace thing, and we did not have many e-commerce sales. My strength was in talking to people at stores and going to stores and like being able to sleep in a truck for a while. Like that was my strength, and so I leaned into my skill set, kind of thinking like one day I'll meet an e-commerce guy or gal, and maybe they'll help me do that. And that's like kind of what happened. Is like someone helped make a better website for me, and I obviously reimbursed them. But like yeah, just I leaned into what I was good at and kind of just kept my eye out for people who had strengths to complement that. And same with like, online world is infinite, but hard to crack. And I think that's it. But you definitely want to find the right market. You don't want to I don't think either of us want to be in ABC stores, for example. Like that's not our target demographic. But that's not a bad place to be, but it's just not where we want to be. We like Locavore and like Kohala Grown Market, like the places we shop. Yeah. But yeah, those are just some quick thoughts on that.
Are your revenue streams kind of 50-50 e-commerce versus wholesale?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah.
And I wanted to also, like, when I looked at our accounting reports, I kind of was surprised because I was like, majority of our income came from Made in Hawaii because it's such a big chunk of money. But when you look at it, it's all the little orders that add up. And you're like, wow, the reason that it's grown so much is actually because I have, like, this person coming back and spending $80 every month or whatever, and this person too. And, like, don't underestimate the small amounts and all those little orders too. Like that's what made the difference for us from growing year to year.
Yeah, and that brings up a really good point too. The subscription model has become huge now because I think a lot of brands recognize if kind of your 1,000 true fans concept. If you can get 1,000 dedicated customers, then they're going to come back and they're going to be recurring. That's recurring revenue, and you can project that and count on that. Yeah. So it's just getting those come back.
And those people are the ones who are really selling your product. Like we'll go to the market. My friends will, or people that we don't even know who love our products will show up and they'll like tell the next person, I love this so much, you gotta try this and that. And that sells it more than me telling them how great it all is and how much it's gonna help you or whatever. So really finding those people and having a good product, they'll sell it for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our customers are best ambassadors.
Yeah, and like there's little hacks to capture that in e-commerce specifically, and you could probably replicate this in real life, but you can have like an app where your customer can refer a friend and get $5 off their next order, and they give their friend $5 off your order, so you can kind of, your customers are your number one salespeople, so like ways to incentivize that. Exist.
Oh yeah. And like I remember some years ago, the Puna Noni did a Noni challenge. And so they sent a free bottles of noni to whoever wanted to do it, and all you had to do was drink the noni shot every morning for like a week and film it and post it, and like it was hilarious. We did it, and my other half, we don't do like those kinds of things or videos, and he hates social media, but it was pretty awesome. And yeah, we did the noni shots, and then we took our honey as the chaser. So you're not like trying to market it as look at this, but you're like, oh, this is fun. Like you can get creative with how you're spreading your product and how you're just getting out there so people can see and like, oh, I want to try. And like that's how I saw the noni thing. I'm like, oh, we should try that. And like,
That's clever.
yeah.
Awesome. Any last audience questions? We feel like we've covered. Awesome. Cool. I think we'll wrap on that. Thank you everybody for coming. Reminder again, our next workshop's February 21st. I'll send an email recap out next week. Ben and Kailin, are you okay if we put you in contact with our cohort? Cool. So if you guys have follow-up questions or something comes to mind, you can definitely please use our amazing presenters as a resource.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you
you all for coming. Mahalo.